Little Miss Tiny by Roger Hargreaves. Little Miss Tiny. Little Miss Tiny was extremely small, not very tall at all. She was so very tiny she didn't live in a house. Do you know where she lived? In a mouse hole, in the dining room of Home Farm. She had made the mouse hole quite comfortable, really, and luckily there weren't any mice because the farm cat had chased them all away. The trouble was, because she was so tiny, no one knew she lived there. Nobody had noticed her, not even the farmer and his wife. So there she lived all alone, with nobody to talk to. She was very lonely and said, "Oh dear." One day she was feeling so lonely she decided to be very brave and go for a walk. Out of her mouse hole she came. She crept across the dining room and went through the crack in the door and into the hole. To Little Miss Tiny, the hole looked as big as a field. She scuttled across it to the back door of the farm. Luckily for her, the letterbox was at the bottom of the door, and she squeezed herself through it and onto the doorstep. It was very exciting. There before her was a farmyard. She went exploring. She came to a door with a gap at the bottom and ducked in underneath.
Piggy.
There inside was a pig, a large pig. And if you're as small as Little Miss Tiny, a large pig looks very large indeed. Miss Tiny looked at the pig looked at Miss Tiny. "Oink!" he grunted, and moved closer to inspect this little person who had entered his sty. "Oh my goodness me!" squeaked Little Miss Tiny in alarm, and shot out of the pigsty as fast as ever her little legs would carry her, which wasn't very fast because her legs were so very little. She ran right around to the back of the pigsty before she stopped. She leaned against the wall and put her hands over her eyes and tried to get her breath back. Suddenly she heard a noise, a very close noise, a sort of breathing noise, very close indeed. Oh! She hardly dared to take her hands away from her eyes, but when she did, she wished she hadn't. What do you think it was there, right in front of her, looking at her with green eyes? Ginger? Ginger the farm cat. Poor Little Miss Tiny. Ginger grinned, showing his teeth. "Help!" shrieked Miss Tiny at the top of her voice. "Oh, somebody please help!" The trouble was, the top of Little Miss Tiny's voice was not a very loud place. Ginger grinned another grin. "You wait till I grow up," she said. The end.
What will happen when she grows up?